Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Oh, hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry effing Christmas indeed.
Yep. Happy New Year next week.
Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah's already passed, I believe.
I don't think so. There's 18 days of Hanukkah, and I think it ends on Christmas. That could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
I should really know.
know. My wife's half Jewish.
Yeah.
Happy holidays. So we'll just cover it all. How about
There we
that?
go. There you go. Whatever you're celebrating. So speaking of holidays, a lot of people, if they were students, and if you remember when you were a student, you're coming off of getting your final grades and gradings. And that's where I want to lead off. So I just graded 130 students.
I think that is correct. About 130, a lot.
Yeah, something like that. And there's classes that, this is what I finally came to the conclusion at. Because some are awesome, some are amazing, and some are absolutely just terrible.
Atrocious.
Yep. And I think it comes down to, do you remember a class you didn't like?
Taking one.
And let's just say college or high school.
In college,
11th
absolutely.
and 12th grade.
Absolutely.
Which class?
During grad school, I was finally on track to get a 4.0.
Yeah.
And one class, it's my fault. I did not take it seriously because I was just so intent on crushing thesis, right?
Yes.
And then I got a B.
Yeah.
I just hated that class.
And
so
then
it's just a lack of interest, where you're just like, I'm not benefiting from this.
Well, I think that's the key, and that's what I was going to get to, because some of when I was grading the students, I thought, holy cow, I have mentioned this 1,000 times to
I thought
class.
Alex, I was casually observing Alex from afar grading, and I thought he was going to blow a gasket. And part of it, what's hilarious is now you're a dad, and I can just see it. I can see thought I told you. I told you, child.
I told you. And then Annie babysits my wife, and now sometimes she has some older kids, like 7 years old.
Oh wow!
And I just remember, your kids are still kids, but they're more. The older you get, the more in tune socially everyone gets, right? Even if they're a little bit weird, they know that that's part of their game, right? But when you're in this 5 to 8, you don't get that. You don't get it yet.
Right. Your self-awareness is just not there yet.
Just not there. I'm like, I wonder what Atlas's lack of self-awareness is going to be, because every kids have their own little, their own little thing. But going back, so I was upset because I remember telling them at this desk, do change these walls or do this. Not me dictating their design, but just, man, this thing won't stand up. We're here to learn about.
Is a large percent of your frustration too, in that we're trying to be those kind of teachers and instructors that practice, and then at the same time we're trying to give you guys as much of a leg up as we can, right? Like compared to how we were taught, especially with the software, we give these guys templates that we've built, trying to have them leapfrog.
Yep.
And it's hard. How can we expect them to understand what they wouldn't be getting without us, right? But isn't that part of the frustration here? That's a large part of mine.
The frustration too is, holy cow, if I knew what I'm telling you now back then, I would just be so happy. I would be like, holy cow, he's just telling me how to do it I'm not telling them how to design. We never tell them how to. We tell them principles. You can get our book online. But they come up with their own. You get what I'm saying. And it's just this is what's frustrating, is that I give a lot of effort, and so do you. And then when you see, so you gave none. You gave none back.
And what seems to happen is, just to catch everybody up from a bigger perspective,
and it's not everyone.
It feels like. Well, this is not. It doesn't feel like, it just is. Some semesters, admittedly, we don't give as much effort as we thought we could have, And then we go, we're going to compensate for that next semester. And then we go overboard. And what I feel like does happen is when we say we're going to go overboard and go crazy, we have this huge expectation because we think we're putting in so much more effort, and then we get so much less output. And then when we put in less output, then we get all this extra output, and it's like, what's going on? Maybe it's all about balance. Maybe we need to be more balanced. I don't know.
But here's where the advice I was going to, because there was classes that I did not like, biology or microbiology, I don't know, and then statistics. And statistics, I could not help but daydream. I could not get into that class no matter what. I'd even say, like, I'm going to pay attention. And
I feel like you have a pretty good attention span, much better than mine.
But then also, I think you'd agree, I have pretty good willpower too.
Yeah,
like
discipline equals freedom. There it is, little Jocko.
Just could not do it no matter what. So the advice was going to be, because honestly, if you want a good grade in class, all you have to do is follow directions. Right? Unless it's unless you're in like MIT and you're doing differential equation, like crazy statistics stuff, and I can understand where you might not get a good grade even if you do follow directions, right? But I'm talking about the majority of everything you do in school and then everything you do in life. If you follow directions, and why I say this, people will be like, well, if you follow directions, you're just going to be a cog. If you know the rules, you can break the rules then. Because I've had students and other people break the rules, but they go, oh yeah, I'm breaking this here because they're aware of that they are breaking it, and then tell you why. And
why?
You're like,
yeah, it's all justified.
Oh yeah, no, that does make sense then. Instead of just breaking it without knowing why, and then they're like, no, you can't break the rule unless you actually know what the rule is, and then tell me why and all that stuff. And it's funny, because what class did you not like? You said the one that you got a bad grade in, and you didn't put up enough effort. You didn't follow directions enough. And if you would have, you would. I mean, intellectually,
I totally deserve the grade.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
still pissed though.
Still pissed. I don't know. And maybe then we just have to manage. Hey, there's going to be a certain percentages that are just not going to put in effort. One kid even told me, he's like, yeah, I just want to get, this was a couple months ago, I just want to get through this and get this done because I got other stuff to do. I'm like, you saying that? You saying that to your teacher here? Whatever.
Fair enough. I appreciate brutal honesty. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. I'm extremely brutal. I'm extremely honest, brutally honest with my kids, and it frustrates them sometimes. Yeah. My wife too, but whatever. But
then I gave him a pretty good pep talk about how he could reduce and then make design decisions based off of rules, and then he actually got a little excited and made a good project. But anyways, that's what I wanted to talk about grading because it's at this time it's so pertinent. But I feel like it's true if you work for someone or even as a boss. Like I'm sending out to our consultants things to do for the city for site plan review, and I'm literally just gonna get the list and then narrow it down, give them focus. Here you go. This is what you have to solve. And if they just follow those rules, it'll be great. It'll be simple.
Yeah. So to sum it up, your advice is if you're going to break the rules, you better be able to justify them.
If you're going to break the rules, you better know what rule you're breaking.
Know what rule you're breaking and why exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so you can break some rules, but you got to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say it's better than bending rules with that approach? You're a bender.
I'm a bender?
Yeah.
Ooh. Can you give me an example?
No, I can't.
Yeah.
Not right offhand.
Bending rules, this is what happens. Technically, you get your way, but you create animosity in the other side, and they look for a way to poke hole in that bend.
And do you think it's because there's not a clean break? Literally, like pun intended, there's no clean break. So you can't, there's no, they can't get over that.
Yep.
Because you didn't break it. It's still there.
Yes, and it's encroaching in their physical space. Because I'm thinking about, a property, and then just think about it ballooning up. Or think about me ballooning into your physical space. Like, oh, I'm not technically, touching you. I'm not technically touching you, but I'm right here. But if you break the rule and they understand why, I think it just totally alleviates. They want to pop that bubble when you bend it.
Yep.
And they might let you, but maybe next time they'll slow down your proposals, they'll slow down getting back to you, all that stuff. So that's the risk of bending it, is that you might get your way, but beware that they're looking to pop that bend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Words to live by, Al Gore.
There we go. totally segue into a different conversation, is the ease of networking on Facebook and Twitter that I found, right? So one strategy to grow your network and to market is to reach out to these people, right? And some people you can't get a hold of. Like, name anyone really important. Like,
how about Jeff Bezos?
Jeff Bezos. He might read your email.
He might open your email if you have a certain tracking system and you can actually see him open your email.
Yes. And some people have not been opening my email, and I don't know how to tell them that I am tracking it. And it's been 3 days.
Yeah.
I sent out an email this morning. Hey, just following up. And I wanted to say, I've been tracking your emails, and you have not opened this.
I know. For what we're talking about, this is actually a good little tip. Is if anybody is interested in tracking their emails and being a little NSA themselves, it's a really cool piece of software because it can help you understand if somebody's actually opened up a proposal email or something. I'm not saying you're creepy here, but it's called Yesware. It's awesome. I think it costs us $10 a month each, something like that.
$5.
$5, yeah. But we can instantly track when people open emails. It's just helpful from a sales perspective to keep track. Because let's say you send out a proposal, and you track it, and nobody's opened it for a week. Great. Then you have even more justification and more incentive to email them and say, you don't tell them you're tracking or anything, but just say, hey, it's been about a week. I'm just following up to this proposal.
Well, so I sent out a huge proposal, and I sent it out to 3 people, and the 3 people are part of this loose group, right? None of them have even opened it. And I'm wondering if this is actually smart of them if they said, we're not going to open it until we have all of them.
All of them.
Because our strategy is to get a professional bid in the quickest, right?
Yep.
Because then people clicking, okay, they're ready to go. I'm still waiting on these other guys. I'm just going to pull the trigger. And then a week later, they get the other guys. It might be lower, might be higher. It doesn't matter. They already went with you. You're already doing it. So it's actually really smart for them.
From a buyer's perspective, yes.
But what I would add on to that is just say, if you see it come in, let's say we're doing that. Let's say we decide to do that with bids. It's actually pretty smart. Let's say all of framing. We're just going to wait. We're not going to get overly anxious like we did on one of the sales that we had. And we're just going to be competent and cool and collective.
Exactly.
I still want to send out an email to them, say, hey, we received this. We're just waiting for all the bids before we make a decision. Just let them know. Just, no problem whatsoever. Then I would see that it's been like a week and they still haven't opened it and be like, these other people are slow, which this is the value of that Yesware. Then let's say we're talking and then I can bring up in the conversation, hey, if you want fast replies, if something's going wrong, we're the firm to do it, knowing that they took a week and a half longer to get their proposal to them than us. You know what I mean? Because then I can know that if everything came in like really close by my tracking software.
You can confidently say that.
Yes.
Exactly.
I might say that point, right? But I might really emphasize it if I know it's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
So
there you go. That is the true value of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's building confidence for what you want to say about you being quick or knowing how all that works.
Yep. And quickness, man. I won't segue. We are going into Twitter and Facebook and getting a hold of people. Like even Cayko can't get a hold of them. You kind of can, but not really. But other people.
You've got him to like something of yours, right?
Yeah, and then 2 podcasts later, he goes, I like everything. It just means I read it. He's like, I hate that it's a heart too, but there's no other way to say.
Oh my gosh, he's so funny. He's scary. He's a scary man.
But other people we've been getting a hold of are just people in our industry that are normal. Everyone that podcasts, basically, when something comes out, I read it, and I would read it too, but I make a point of reading it, liking it, commenting on it, because right away there's not those, it's not as quick as someone, Tim Ferriss, right? Tim Ferriss is immediately going to get 100,000 things, and you might not reach them. All these people that you're really trying to connect with, they're reading them, and they're reading at least the first couple ones. So if you're on Facebook or Twitter, get these alerts, why not, right? Another person that we've reached out with and I think knows who we are now is a big donor to NDSU who's also an architect, right? And it's great. She knows who we are now. We'll probably do an interview with her. I remember years ago, right? She seemed so above our league. The NDSU was trying to raise like $50,000 for something. They needed something. It was an urgent need. And they're at the board meeting, and one of my friends was telling me this, and they're like, "Yeah, we need to do this. There's no way we can get it." And she's like, $50,000? I'll just write a check right now. Here you go. Like, buy it.
Yeah.
Get on it, guys. So again, and I think I've seen you been doing the same thing. It's like, oh, has a post, like it, comment. It's a great way to get in. It's almost untapped because these people might blow up and get even bigger that you're marketing with, and they notice, because I notice. Notice, like, if you like something inside the firm, oh, Kevin, how you doing? Thanks for,
the access to people of influence right now is incredible. Like, I can't believe it. Like, in all my volunteer political stuff, that's where it becomes really obvious to me of when I get like a national page to share something that I've made, or the attention of a public figure that I've admired for over a decade.
Yep.
is incredible. And then I go home and show my wife, and she's so proud.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, I can't believe that happened. I'm like, all you got to do is try, and honestly, you got to have some talent of what you're doing,
yep,
right, and all that, and you got to have a good message and all that. But man, it's possible. It's totally possible. You just got to put yourself out there.
The other thing too, if you're very active in Facebook groups, they might just make you an admin. And that admin then has power in not to let it go to your head, but then all of a sudden now you have more clout. So all it takes is being active.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of people, I think everyone should get a hold of our next guest segment reader. We're going to NickReads.
All right.
So you can find him. Please poke him or whatever you do on the social media, just so he knows that you're around. Let's hear it from Nick.
Hello, best friends. I hope you all had a great week this week. A reading. Get a life. It is 6 p.m. Time to go. I mean it. The decisions you make about allocating your personal time will ultimately shape your life strategy. All too often, people equate working late in the night as a sign of commitment and as part of what it takes to get ahead. I think it's the opposite. Constantly working late into the night puts you on a dangerous path. Burnout, boring, behind. As I mentioned previously, I do not believe in burnout. If you do your job right, burnout won't exist. Your goal is to understand what it takes to get the job done, plan for it, and then be smart about doing it. Clocking in more hours is not the answer. If you consistently get the formula wrong, you will burn out. You need time to refuel. The other danger is becoming boring. You need downtime to pursue activities that feed your passions. The pursuit of passions is what keeps you interested in life and interesting to others. And if you're always clocking in late hours and skipping vacation, you risk the chance of falling behind. It is by exploring the world around you that you spot new trends, spark new ideas, and have the mental space to noodle on new possibilities. Art, preach on, brother. Al, Lance, besties. Merry Christmas. Toodles!
So I thought it was appropriate because Christmas is coming up. So everyone take a break.
I am taking the last 2 weeks off, basically. I think Thursday morning, I texted Al and I said, "Hey, I'm just going to be working from home, basically for the." And so I wake up, I leisurely do my thing. There's no rush. I think we earned it. I wish you could do the same, but I know the little guy keeps you too busy at home for you to get anything done. So you got to come in a little bit. But
yeah,
everybody take the last week off. Good Lord, take it off.
Yeah, and
shut it down.
By taking it off, Lance is still going to work, just from home. And then I'm going to work. So I'm going to come in here, but I'm going to do some fun stuff too. And honestly, I just like what I'm doing so much. Like I'm tired, but I am hungry. Meaning not in food, but like hungry just to get after it.
Get after it.
The two things I liked is that work late. I know in school people work late, and I'm not telling you not to work late. I think that's fine. You're 20 years old, you're 19 years old, you're just a kid. And I know some people, they get their juices at night. That's fine too. What I'm talking about is giving yourself a break and not just beating yourself. And this is coming from, just know who this is coming from. It's not coming from Al. It's not coming from Lance. It's coming from the guy who made the #1 most profitable, biggest firm in the United States, in architecture, maybe the world. I mean, if you can't take advice from this guy, if you're like, nah, I think he's wrong, there's a rule. Prove to me why. What's your reason why to break that rule? If you can, maybe it's just this short project. Okay, but does this one project happen every month?
Exactly.
And is it
one, an anomaly?
Right? If it is just once, once or twice or 3 times a year, whatever, then fine, break the rule. But if it's not, then why are you breaking the rule? Why? If you can answer that, compellingly, then go ahead and break it. But I don't think you can. And then the second thing, Clyde. So everyone has big projects, small projects. Sometimes when you just dedicate yourself only to work, right? You know that there's phases. Like a concept will entirely change. The developer might say, hey, this whole thing, we're going to switch this over here, right? We're going to move this over here. We're going to do, instead of 5 plexes, we're going to do 3 plexes and then duplexes. And then we're going to shrink the units a foot or expand them. What if you did all the structures then?
Oh, good.
You know what I mean? You just wasted all that time.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I try to get ahead of my clients, but I know that, okay, first proposal, layout, site plan review, depending on the client and what city it is in, it might totally switch. So I'm not going to burn myself and do too much because you literally just wasted that part of your life.
Yeah. You're never getting that time back 100%. So, but I play devil's advocate here. I also do think it's good to get burnt out every once in a while because you need to be reminded to not do that or to take a break. So and that's honestly the way I get. For the last 2 years, that's where I've been. I'm just like, I need to just not go to work. I need to just be at the couch and hang out with the kids. I'm still on my iPad. I'm still redlining stuff. I'm still sending out emails, but it is a much different workflow. It's a very casual workflow where I'm still getting stuff done. Like yesterday I got a ton of administrative work due, but I was on the couch and in between the couch and my office all day. Yep. And it was good, very productive.
And there's a dichotomy too, because if you took that to your extreme, if that's all you did, or if you never okay, this person at the firm is unproductive, this person is not communicating, this person is out of it, is literally out of it. So, And what you said, it's a good thing to
push yourself to an extreme.
Push yourself because sometimes you just got to get after it. Sometimes it is a real deadline. Sometimes it is like, hey, let's get, and we've all done this multiple times. The tiny house is one example. Just got to get done. There's nothing, just
grind it. Yep.
Yeah. So that's it. That's it for that. Next week.
Thank you, Nick. Follow Nick on the Twitter, on the LinkedIn,
Facebook. Just find him out in public and give him a high five.
If you see him.
Yeah. So thanks, bestie.
Merry Christmas to you.
And toodles until next week. Next we have best and worst advice.
So we have a special guest today.
No, we don't.
No, we don't? Sorry.
Group homes.
Oh, okay.
You want to
Before we do that. So I just wanted to touch base on bring it inside the firm about a project that that we just finished up in the office, and that is it's a group home. We've talked about this before. So we do these really interesting buildings that are 16 beds. So there's but they're assisted facility centers for people with like Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff like that. So it's a memory care facility. And they're also about 8,000 square feet. So if anybody else is doing any of these, I just wanted to give you our Colorado take. And what's tricky about them is this is probably the 6th or 7th one that we've done, and it's sort of a repeat or whatever. But we went through this process with multiple different cities, and what happens is the zoning side of the city sees these as commercial buildings. And the building side of it, the building construction side, sees them as residential buildings. But then sometimes the departments will talk to each other, and they will cost our client tens of thousands of dollars because they insist that, well, you got an architect, you got a structural engineer, screw it. We need them we need a mechanical engineer on board too, and they have to do full-blown full-blown mechanical, electrical, plumbing plans. When I'm telling you these are built, Type 5 construction, they are sprinklered.
Are they making you do just like manual S-stage?
No.
Just IBC level.
IBC level. So, and what I want to do is I want to read a little bit of my code analysis to everybody and how I interpret these. So I interpret these as I am recognizing that they're from the IBC, the International Building Code, a group, an R4 residential care, but that they will be constructed and under R3 codes.
Well, because there's no classification in residential, so you have to go to the IBC.
What do you mean?
There's no R2, R1, R2, R3. It doesn't reference that in IRC. In IRC, it just says single, duplex, or townhomes.
Exactly.
It doesn't say who's going to live there, what they're... Yeah.
So the point is that they're this building type that are still in a gray area. So if anybody is doing them and they are just one story, we're not talking 3-story, we're just talking 1 story, 16 bed maximum. Because if you go to, I mean, it actually says it in the IBC, R4 adult residential care group home, 16 residents. It says it, like that's the maximum. So we are within the constraints, but at the end of the day, just be aware if anybody's going to do this, that once you go, zoning will say one thing, building construction will say another thing. You can argue both ways. You can argue all day long. So we did get a victory yesterday in that we went back into the city, and the head planner made an executive decision. He goes, "We will allow you guys to permit this under the IRC construction wise. So no more mechanical engineer involved."
What logic? How did you convince them?
The contract. Well, we just held them to what they originally said. They said. See, this head planner specifically he was the administrator in a different city where we did a couple other ones. And now he's in this new city and he says, "Hey, we're trying to set it up because we want to encourage more of these. And we understand that it saves the developers money and it makes it more economical for them to build these if they're allowed to build them under the residential code."
Yes.
So we basically held them to what they originally said. And we said, "Look, you guys said this. We don't want to get the city attorney involved. Can we do that?"
Did you say that, though?
The owner did, yes.
The owner did.
So that was pretty critical.
Yeah. Did he have it in writing that the guy said that?
No.
Yeah.
But that they hate to put stuff in writing like that.
Yeah.
It is really hard to get them to put stuff in writing.
But then also, too, I think it's hard to lie, right? Especially if you had a meeting and you said, "Hey, you said this originally," and you're, in court. I don't know. I'd find it, and I'm sure that building official would find it hard to lie to. He's like, "I did say that." So,
yep. So anyway, that's all. I just wanted to give a little tip. If anybody is approached to do any of these group homes that are memory care only, they're assisted. They're assisted in that, there's always like 3 people on staff, but they're not full blown nurses. They could have some medical. I think you have to have some medical training, but it's not a full blown like these people are debilitated. They cannot move.
They just might forget.
It's like grandma. It's like grandma. If grandma memories start to go, that's where she's at.
Yeah. No, my uncle was in, and it was totally fine. He just would sometimes just walk away.
And that's what they do exactly. And we literally design them so that we have these racetracks in the interior, and they can walk around, and we try to do all that good stuff. So they're also really feel good projects, and they're great exercises for your team to really understand what it means to be a 100% ADA compliant. Because we're talking about ADA from the inside to the outside. Everything has to be 100% according to ANSI.
Yep. Here's another thing. We have one of our guys is at school also, and he has designed these, and then he got critiqued by his professors that he couldn't do it this way, and he didn't fight. You could have maybe argued that he fight, but he followed directions, made it work, and we were just laughing because we're like, does he know that you actually do these in the real world? That gets through, that literally gets built,
affects people's lives in a positive way, and you know what I mean. And we get them done not on the cheap side of materials. I mean, like they have full blown granite countertops, like they're nice. What I'm getting at is, in his critique, they were upset that Jackson was trying to be economical.
Yeah.
But within reason. And they were like, no, that's brutal. Like, I mean, saying things, so I don't know. It's silly.
Yeah.
This real world versus non-real world.
Yeah.
Get out of town.
Yeah. Crazy. Okay. Now best and worst advice.
Oh, okay. So I would like to introduce. This is more of a friend. He is a professional, but I'd like to welcome TJ Eckert. He's a friend of mine, and he's also the editor at Being Libertarian. So he's a writer, but he did some stand-up comedy. So I have a little Christmas treat for everybody. He's got some bad advice that hopefully it's a super interesting story, and he'll make us laugh a little bit. So here's TJ.
Hey guys, I thought I'd do something a little different here and give you both a good piece of advice, followed up with why I actually learned this from a bad piece of advice. So my piece of advice being that when you do give someone advice, don't always assume that that advice applies across the board uniformly. And that leads into my bad piece of advice. So one of the pieces of advice I was given was at a firearms class one time, talking about when you're under a stressful situation and let's say you're getting robbed. And one of the things you can do is to talk to that person, try to distract them with words and, figure out a plan to escape. The problem is that doesn't always work, nor is that always the plan you should do. Case in point. So I'm going to throw you back a few years here. I'm at a gas station in college, okay? And I'm filling up my car, and it was kind of a flashy car, I thought it was a hot rod. And as I'm sitting there in this, you could call it a bad neighborhood in Cleveland. Let's just go with that. One of the things that I noticed was a group of guys watching me. And mind you, of course, it had to be 1 a.m. in Cleveland. And it had to be, me sitting there by myself. And these guys come up to my car. And they say, man, this is a really nice car. I'm like, oh, sweet. These guys just want to make conversation. No, they do not. So it wasn't long after they pull a knife on me. And they tell me they want to rob my car, and lo and behold, piece of advice pops into my head. Man, I should start talking to these guys and distract them while I figure out a way to get away. The problem was, I should not have done that. I promise you, you guys have all had awkward conversations in your life. You have not had an awkward conversation like I have. So let me lay it out for you. We're sitting there, and there's 3 guys all sitting there trying to rob me, and they want to steal my car. And so I go, hey man, you guys may as well fill this car up for you, right? Yeah, sure, why not? Good idea. Give me some time to make some conversation. I swear to God, I was at $1.50 when they came up to me. And since it's Christmas, you guys all know the Grinch's heart grows 3 sizes when he's confronted with nice people. If you ever try to talk to someone while you're being held up, something like that will happen. I swear my gas tank grew 3 sizes while we were sitting in that gas station. It went to $66. No joke. While I'm sitting here trying to talk to these guys. And of course, I got nothing in common with trying to talk to them. I'm like, oh, hey, I was going to college at the time. Hey, you guys go to school around the corner? Of course not. No. Oh, yeah. I'm just dressed head to toe in my frat gear. Oh, sweet. I just look like a huge target. So mind you, luckily, bad advice doesn't always have to end in a bad way. I shouldn't have been talking to those guys like I did, but learned a lesson. Luckily, the guy inside called the cops, and I was able to get distracted by him when he came outside, and I jumped in my car and ran off, and I was able to get away. But piece of advice, if you're ever being held up, especially in a situation like that, don't try to talk to somebody about school or anything like that. And don't always assume that any piece of advice that you're given by someone can be applied uniformly and yield the results they're talking about. So, happy ending though. Another good piece of advice. I was always told that if joining a fraternity would never ever yield anything good. 2 weeks later, I was with 10 of my buddies. We see those dudes on the street. Moral of the story, we kicked the shit out of them, and it was awesome.
Oh my God.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Wait. So here's so TJ filled up his tank.
Yes.
But so it did actually work.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say this turned out great, except for the how much can you take awkwardness? Was it more painful for the awkwardness?
That's what I'm saying. Wow. I mean, I was expecting him to get I was expecting him to have to pay the gas and then he was going to get robbed.
Yeah.
But then he got away.
Yeah. So it worked out. Take all advice blindly. That's where I went with that.
And apply it to everything.
Apply it to everything. So what it led me to something a little bit more, not pertinent. Just it redirected, still on topic. Don't think your advice is understood. Don't think your advice is understood. And this is what I'll say. So Cayko was reading a book, right? And they're in World War II, right? And the colonel says to these guys, hey, go take that corner. So they run over there, and then you hear all these shots, and they run back, and they're like, yeah, there's Germans over there. They got a machine gun. And the colonel's like, he calmed down because he was really frustrated because he's used to dealing with like guys. I mean, this is in the middle of the war, right? These are new guys. So he's like, shit, I got to tell these new guys what to do. I'm not going to yell at them. I'm going to say, okay, what you do? Because when he said go take that corner, means, yeah, fight the Germans. And now that's your corner, right?
Yeah,
that's what we're here to do. Yeah. And that's how like I understood it too, but these guys didn't. So he goes, yeah, but there's a machine gun nest. He goes, okay. So basic cover and move. One guy stand at the corner, pop shots at him. Two guys go around and get me that gun. All right? Makes sense, right? So all of a sudden he hears a bunch of firing and he's directing action over here. And all of a sudden he sees Germans coming down that alleyway. He's like, oh, damn it. They didn't win that one, right? And then he looks and behind them are the Americans and they have two of them. They're prisoners now, right? And then one of the Americans is dragging the actual gun. And they come back and said, hey, Captain, we got that gun for you, but we had to kill some Germans to get it, and here are the other ones. And they were kind of morose. And he's like, oh, my God, they thought I literally wanted the gun. Like, they brought me back the gun. And he's like, it wasn't, like, everything worked out. But literally, it just means, like, take out the gun and just still hold that corner. Like,
but they brought
the gun.
The gun.
Because they thought it was, like, a personal, like, I really wanted that gun as the colonel. So that's when I heard that story, it made me think about when I'm telling guys or students. Sometimes I say do this and they do it slightly different. I'm like, I do have to be more clear or less clear. Like, don't say get me that gun if I don't want the gun. Say destroy their position and hold the corner. That's what he really wanted them to do. But it's just crazy the nuances when you really get down.
The nuances, absolutely.
Because sometimes I'll be frustrated. They don't understand me. Was I clear?
There you go. That's
was I clear?
Yeah, exactly. So isn't really the big thing to take away of, okay, you as the advice giver or the direction giver, understand no matter how clear you are or unclear you are, the interpretation on the other party might be different, and therefore,
right.
I need to try to have a bigger perspective. I need to have some patience. I need to have some discipline because discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, exactly. But I think realizing that was huge. How you say it, because if you always just blame externally, then everyone else is the problem. And if everyone else is the problem, who's the problem?
Yeah.
Probably you.
Thanks again, TJ. That was a hilarious story and good twist at the end.
Yeah, so. I'm going to chat up everyone that robs me. It's going to go great.
What a crazy story.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Fill them up with gas. Okay, next up we got code questions. Al, are you ready to continue your streak?
Of batting 100% on code questions?
7,000%, really.
Yeah.
If you were getting paid in Bitcoin millionaire, but
for each question,
Bitcoin millionaire at this point, ridiculous.
Billion maybe,
billion, trillion. Yeah. Winklevoss twins, they got nothing on you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. IRC Chapter 4 Foundations, R408 underfloor space, ventilation. The underfloor space between the bottom of the floor joist and the earth under any building, except space occupied by a basement, shall have openings through foundation walls or exterior walls. The minimum net area of ventilation opening should not be less than 1 square foot for how many square feet? Unless the ground surface is covered by a Class 1 vapor retarder material. So basically, how much venting do you need to provide for a crawl space? Yeah. 1 square feet for every how many square feet of said crawl space? A, 100 square feet. B, 150 square feet. C, 200 square feet. D, 400 square feet.
150.
Ding, 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 ding. Pay him in Bitcoin.
Wrote it down, too, even before you got to the numbers.
All right, now here's the exception, okay?
I was almost confused by the question because it's like, isn't it 1 for 150?
So smart. Yeah. So smart. Look at you. So here's the exception. The exception to the rule is where a class 1 vapor retarder material is used, the minimum net area ventilation of opening shall not be less than 1 square foot for each how many square feet. So you get an increase. Okay? A, 1,000 square feet. B, 1,500 square feet. C, 2,000 square feet. D, 4,000 square feet.
So I wrote down 300. I was totally wrong, which would have matched perfectly with roof venting calculations too. So 1,000 or 1,500, I get a double choice.
1,500. Give this man a Bitcoin. Give him 3 Bitcoins.
Bitcoin.
Speaking of which, Bitcoin is on sale right now for 25% less because it is crashing.
Yeah.
So if anybody has been listening to us yap on about this, honestly, now's the time over Christmas to take a look. Get in.
Right.
2018 is going to be a huge year. I did not give you financial advice right now. I'm just saying, take a look at it. It's an interesting time. That's all.
Yes. So the technology is not going away. The problems that these new altcoins are solving are literally making new companies. So if you were looking to invest, it's discount time right now. Everyone else is freaking out. You just gotta
HODL.
You gotta be steady. You have to be steady. Please don't get a loan to do this. I'm like,
One of our friends brought up the point that a lot of people are buying this stuff with credit cards and loans. And we all know what happened in 2008. So let's just not try to do that again. I'm not saying it would crash the whole market, but
let's just be realistic.
just be realistic with what you're doing. Yeah.
So if you enjoyed this podcast or other podcasts and want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. One, remember last week, Lance?
I do.
What was our podcast called?
Goals.
You can help me achieve one of my goals.
What is your goal, Al?
Sell 1,000 books.
1,000 books.
So if you appreciate this, want a little bit more of us, you know that you want us buy your nightside table. I can go through the book and look at you while you sleep.
Wow.
It's because
There's
technology.
nothing creepy about that.
Yeah. Your design skills, I think, will improve 8,000%.
That's the minimum.
I think that's been proven. In fact, if we don't have a Jamie here, a fact checker, but let's just go with that's true. Get the creativity code. You'll enjoy it. If not, I'll give you your money back. Second thing is Revit Furniture. If you're getting into Revit, look at Revit Furniture. There's a bunch of free tutorials, and then our training. We train all of our guys with the same stuff we give out to everyone else. We give you the template, not the software, but the template and all the files you need to make an awesome residential architecture. So that's all I got. Please like us. Please stalk Nick. Stalk Nick.
Follow us on the Twitter. Give us that review, and we will see you next week for the last podcast of year 2017. Merry Christmas.